The City of Tshwane is spending exorbitant amounts of money on water tankers, and this is due to aging infrastructure leading to higher demand. It's adding an estimated 98 million rand every year to its expenses for water tankers. But what are some of the other issues at play here? And we'll talk about it with Wayne Duvenage, who's the CEO of the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. Wayne, good morning to you and welcome to the program. Thanks as always for your time. So there is an institutional and systemic issue with regard to aging infrastructure in places like Tshwane, other places as well, but we'll focus on Tshwane. So it's led to the surge in water tanker provision to provide water in the interim. But what it has also done, seemingly, is open the door to exploitation and corruption. We heard from the head of utilities in Tshwane, this is Temba Forsi, spending 98 million rand every year on water tankers, and this excludes emergencies. I'd love your take on what you're seeing unfolding there, and of course, against the backdrop of allegations of a water tanker mafia.
Yeah, hi, ma'am. It is a serious problem, and we've seen this play out in a number of municipalities across the country, especially smaller ones where infrastructure is not repaired, which then ensures that the residents or the cities or these municipalities rely on water tanker services. And very often those water tanker services are provided by people connected to the municipality. So it actually suits them not to repair, or suits individuals not to repair the infrastructure, but it certainly is a big problem for residents and businesses in those towns. And we see this now playing out in Tshwane, and it is a serious problem. So this tampering and vandalism of water infrastructure is going to benefit the tanker services. I guess the solution to this, Imam, is that the municipality needs to take back those services that it is outsourcing. If it ran its own water tanker services and it did not contract this out to private businesses and suppliers, they wouldn't have this problem. So, you know, what's happened is municipalities are losing control when they start outsourcing most of their or many of their services to businesses who are going to benefit from this.
How practical, I mean, how accessible, how easy would it be for a municipality to do that?
Well, very easy. I mean, when the city is broke like it is now, it's a lot more difficult. But I guess the whole idea of ensuring that you manage all your services, and including the emergency or backup services, is the way to go. You know, this is the role of municipalities, is to provide all the services. And so often we've seen over time, municipalities have started to outsource. Tshwane also had the similar problem with waste removal. And we saw very recently when they were questioning some of the costs and the services provided by their external contractors. So those contractors who are connected to political powers started rattling their sabers and saying, well, maybe we should enforce some change of leadership in Tshwane. And these are the types of dynamics that play out when you outsource your services and when you start putting these service providers under pressure. So I think it is important, you know, from waste services to water supply, everything like that. If you bring that in-house, and you obviously have to employ the expertise and have the tankers and have the workshops and everything else that goes with it, then you overcome this problem. But yeah, it is a serious problem, and it's not just contained in Tshwane.
What you're talking about suggests there is, you know, insiders involved. And we heard Forsi say that there is a problem with the invoicing itself, where some of these invoices are questionable. That can only happen if there is internal enablement, right?
Yes, and unless you don't have the systems and the ability to question and ensure that, for instance, the ordering of a tanker service for a specific period and a specific area, if you start getting duplicate invoices, you have to have very good systems to pick up these overcharges and duplication of invoices to prevent them from payment, and that creates a whole administrative nightmare. So again, these are add-on or problems that will come from outsourcing.
More insidious, or perhaps another layer of what's really bad here and what's rotten here, Wayne, is claims of sabotage. Forsi says, and has invoked the term the water tanker mafia, but it's being felt in the city, especially in places like Bronkhorstspruit, where they found their valves to have been tampered with. There's huge amounts of vandalism, he says, where you see that this is something that is self-imposed, and then it necessitates the provision of water tankers. What should be the approach that the city takes now that this is, on the surface? It's been something that has been suggested for a long, long time, but now that it is on the surface in the way that it is, how should the City of Tshwane and its management be proactively responding to this now?
Well, as I said, Imam, it's very difficult to man and police every single valve or every single infrastructure of this nature. And we saw the same problem in Eskom, where sabotage gives rise to service providers to come out and fix. If you're going to rely and outsource your service provision, your repairs, your maintenance, your tanker services to external forces, of course, it benefits them when there is a breakdown in that infrastructure. And that's the type of activity that starts taking place. So the sabotage will happen, or the vandalism will happen, to create the emergency. So what we're saying is that if government gets back to this professionalization of its own services and its own emergency management, it takes away this entire problem, because now they're not going to sabotage their own infrastructure to call out their own water tankers, so to speak. This really does come around. Municipalities have got lazy, have not provided for the expertise and the needs, and so they just outsource almost everything. I mean, even when it comes down to debt collection in some cities and towns, they're outsourcing that, and that's the type of thing that they should own and do themselves. So municipalities, the role of a municipality is to provide the services as well as the maintenance and the repairs to these. And if they're going to outsource, these are the problems they're going to suffer with.
And of course, there's a direct health risk, right, or public health risk in the way that some of these services are conducted. I mean, citizens don't have the peace of mind that the water sources that some of these tanker services are using are bona fide, are healthy, are legitimate, or authorized even to draw water from and then provide to the communities.
Exactly. There's always going to be those question marks, and then the residents are going to hopefully rely on the city to make sure that the quality of that water and those tankers is up to scratch. But if the city is just so inundated with so many other things to deal with, those walls will also be dropped. So yes, this whole question mark around the ability for municipalities to provide all the services to the extent and levels that are required by residents is dropping and becoming rapidly under scrutiny, and the residents are getting frustrated, which is why there's this pushback when it comes to rates and taxes. And the problem with municipalities is these costs by the outsourced service providers go up every year, sometimes more than inflation, and they just pass these costs on and increase tariffs on it. It's unsustainable. We need to have a rethink and a relook at the entire management and the maintenance and the financing of municipal infrastructure and systems.
As you talk, Wayne, and again, Alta has been at the forefront of civic action and in the forefront of just, again, raising the alarm on issues where, we need to really focus, especially when it comes to service delivery. And you kind of get the sense that the rot is so deep and so entrenched that we might never be able to recover. Would you say that this is the opportune time, that we still have the opportunity now to roll back the dysfunction that we have been seeing in terms of, as you say, the debt collection outsourcing, the water tanker outsourcing, the opportunity to professionalize the service, to tighten up the controls in terms of financial management across our metros?
Yes, absolutely, Imam. And this is the time now, especially under the new government of national unity. We need to take a cross-sector and across levels of government approach to this. We need presidency involved. Need COGTA involved, the MECs in the various provinces, right down to local government. If you just look across the country, there are similar sized cities and towns from small, medium, and large. Some functioning very well and others that fail. And you only need to look at what makes the well-functioning cities and towns work and what makes them the others fail. And it boils down to leadership, boils down to good governance, it boils down to professionalism, it boils down to managing cities in the best interest of their people. And that hasn't been happening, certainly not in Johannesburg. I see Cilliers Brink is trying to rectify the wrongs of the past. It's going to take a long time. Many of these metros are in a dire state, but we can fix this, but we need to get back to the drawing board quickly. And every day we wait is a day that it's going to take longer to get out of the holes that have been created in these cities.